Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky. Welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show, a special extra edition before the Yom Neroyim. We're adding in some extra time. And I got an email recently from a fellow who is not complaining. Not complaining, of course. Complaints we don't deal with here, except for ranting and raving. But he was just observing that I haven't done a recipe in a long time. Well, I was at the Kufa when I was doing recipes on each one of the shows, just to establish the fact that I can talk about whatever I want. Yeah, but he says I haven't heard any recipes in a long time, and he signs it "Hungry in Cedarhurst." Now, I've been to Cedarhurst. I don't know how you could possibly be hungry in Cedarhurst. However, it could very well be that obviously Rabbi Orlofsky's traditional recipes are just a lot more fun. And let me just for a moment step onto my soapbox so I can rant about the recipe sections in the Jewish publications, which really I about the only thing I really read in the publications. I go through them every week looking for something that I might want to make, and few and far between are the times. So when you have an entire section dedicated to raw fish, and I'm not going to eat raw fish, okay? I want to go on record like this. I know it is a delicacy. I had a student of mine who was teaching in Japan, and his friends took him out to this restaurant where they take this fish while it's still alive, and they put it on a stick, and they slice it open, and you eat the fish, and it's still moving. And he was like, I couldn't eat it. When I left, the owner said to me, "Don't ever come back." So I understand. There's a certain appeal to eating raw fish. I don't get it. I like my fish cooked. Jackie Mason said sushi was invented by two Jews who said, "How can we open a restaurant without a kitchen?" But be that as it may, I look at the various things. So I understand, because everything that I make is easy and extremely tasty. Yeah. So I thought it would be appropriate, since now we're already getting ready for Rosh Hashana, right? And we're already out shopping. There are people who are still online in Osha'ad here in Yerushalayim since last Rosh Hashanah, trying to get their stuff done, you know. They sent around that cartoon of, like, you know, people shopping before the hurricane. It was a cart like this, and then people shopping before 3 Day Yontif, and the cart was like this, you know. So I understand people are probably already shopping, getting ready. There are those kind of people who are, you know, all have everything baked and cooked and frozen, and it's all set already, you know. Other people are like us. And obviously, the food plays an important role. Yeah. In fact, on Rosh Chodesh Elul, I sat down with my family, my children, all of my loved ones getting together because it's Elul. Yom Adin is coming, and I said, let's understand. We're going to have the last Shabbos of the year. We're going to have 2 days Rosh Hashanah. We're going to have Shabbos Shuvah. We're going to have the Suda Mafsekes before Yom Kippur and the break fast after Yom Kippur. We have an extra Shabbos in between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. We have Sukkot. We have Chol Moed Sukkot. We have Shmini Atzeres. And we have Shabbos Bereshis. What are we going to eat? You want to make chicken every meal? There are people like this. God bless them. These people. Every meal. No matter what it is. It could be a Yontif meal, it could be a Shabbos meal, it could be a Purim Suda. They make roast chicken and potatoes, or roast chicken and potato kugel, yeah, and you know, rice. Because this is the Jewish minhag, you have to have two starches. Yeah? One's potatoes, one's rice, you know, and something else like that. That's it. Yeah, it doesn't matter what meal it is. My children, they're just bursting with creativity. There has to be something exciting, something new, something. Yeah. So this is a struggle to be able to achieve it just perfectly. Yeah. So we're discussing what to make. So now I don't mean to be flippant, because I found the Chassam Sofer in at least 3 different places where he explains why we eat a particular food on a particular holiday, and the Simanim and what goes with it and the representation. But when I was growing up, before the Art Scroll, made the world once again safe for all of the Gemaras. Yeah, when I was growing up, for Rosh Hashana night, we'd have challah and honey, and we had an apple and honey, and zo. Now, of course, the Gemara brings many other things, but Mistam in Europe, they didn't have all those things. Somebody asked me, why do we eat potato latkes on Hanukkah? So I said, because you're supposed to eat foods fried and oiled. He says, but why potato latkes? I said, because that's all they had were potatoes. So on Hanukkah, they fried it in oil, and on Pesach, they pretended it was a green vegetable, and the rest of the time, they used it for furniture. I mean, that was it. All they had were potatoes, yeah? Every now and then, you could get a beet. This was like, if you were one of the bigger families, yeah? But to get all these fancy types of food, yeah. So today we can get all these things, yeah. But when I was growing up, we had the ubiquitous apple and honey, and you can find the apple and honey on Rosh Hashanah cards, and it is the symbol of Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, it's the apple and honey. Now, is that obviously it's sweet? It's sweet, yeah. But there are other sweet fruit. I mean, you could argue that this was all that they could get in Europe also was apples. But you see, the Gemara already says, the Shulchan Aruch says, Tapuch b'dvash. This is a very old meaning. So the Arizal says an amazing thing. I have an apple here. I did not, obviously I don't plan for this podcast. I didn't go out and buy a more photogenic apple. This is, in fact, a Macintosh that I got in America. And if you cut it lengthwise in the hemisphere, and we did this before Hanukkah, yeah, and I, of course, when it comes to cutting fruit, I try to use my heat vision. And you cut it in half, you'll see an amazing thing. Now, I don't know if you're able to see this or not. In the middle of every apple, and I've tried this on many apples, you will see a 5-pointed star. Yeah. Pentagon. If there's a 5-pointed star, then by definition, there's 5 empty spaces in between the points. 5 points and 5 blank spots. And if you can see closely, yeah, around the star, there are 10 little dots. If you can't see it, then feel free to try this at home. Says the Arizal, 5 is the letter Hey. The 5 spaces is the letter Hey. The 10 dots are the letter Yud. And gosh, if that stem doesn't look like a Vav. Yud K Vav K. I said this shir over years ago, and this one Sephardic girl said, now I understand. I never understood why. My grandfather always cut an apple like this. He never cut it down the middle. And I said to him, why don't you cut it down the middle? And he said, I don't want to erase Hashem's name. And I never knew what he meant until now. So we eat the apple and the honey. Honey is obviously significant because honey is the only thing that's produced by a tamei creature that's not tamei. And it's sweet. We talk about being mamtik the din, sweetening the judgment. And Yud Kei Vav Kei is, of course, Hashem's name of chesed, of kindness, as opposed to Elokim, which is the name of judgment. And so we eat this apple because, as the Gemara says in several places, Simanim Milsehi. There is a significance to Simanim. And so you can get the little Rosh Hashanah cards where they have all of the things written out. You eat the Rosh Hadag, eat the head of a fish, and you say we should be a head, not a tail. Not everybody can eat the head of a fish. Some people eat the head of a sheep. Not everybody goes for heads. Yeah, I have a friend of mine that buys little jellyfish and he cuts off the heads of them. They eat that. The children have much less problem with that. Yeah. There's you eat beets, silka, rubia, leeks, gourd, and all kinds of different kind of foods that in their name they have a significance. There's an old thing that was going around where someone said, can I use something else? Does it have to be these foods? He says, no, Simanim Explained means you could use anything that has it. So a guy took out a lettuce leaf and a raisin and a piece of celery, and he said, may we have a raisin celery? But that was, you can really use anything with Simanim. One of them that some people have the minute to use is carrots. And what we do, when we do this, basically Rosh Hashana, we might do it Sukkot too, we make our fleischiger tzimis. My mother used to make a fleischiger tzimis. And I've changed my methodology a little bit. Take 2 packages of carrots. You're going to need two bags of carrots because this is very popular. Yeah? Peel the carrots and slice the carrots. You can do this by hand or with a machine. The problem is that if you put it on the thin blade, it comes out a little too thin. You need a little thicker. And you put that into a pan, a little bit of oil, and then take a package of Flanken. And you put the Flanken into the pan. And I put a little garlic on the Flanken. And you bake it. You bake it until it's mostly done. I should have mostly done, like halfway done. You have to see that it looks cooked, but it's not quite there yet. Yeah, Kamachol ben Drasoy, for those of you familiar with the term from Shabbos. Yeah. Then you stop, you pour out the gravy. Now again, it might be different in America because I've only been making this in our show, but there's a lot of this kind of juice that's not so sweet when it's mixed in over there. There's a lot of fat and things, so we tend to pour that off. And then I take a lot of honey, and I coat the meat and I coat the carrots with the honey, and then we bake it until it's starting to look like it's almost done. And you cover it over and you bake it some more. You have to make sure the carrots are soft. And you don't have to worry about doing it too much. This is not one of those Mosiv Gareya things. It's not one of those things where if you do it too much, you'll lose. Yeah? You ever wanted to get it like really caramelized. And this is just delicious. We have this on our Rosh Hashana meal, and we say the Yiratzon on the carrots, and it's sweet, and everybody's happy. So there's a recipe. I haven't given you a recipe in a long time. There is one of our Rosh Hashana recipes. And then we prepare all of the other Simanim. So the dates, we don't do anything too fancy with. We cut them in half, we check them for bugs, put them out on the plate. The rubia, which are black-eyed peas, and there was this video going around last year. I can't tell you the authenticity of it or not. I don't know. But this fellow bought what was supposed to be checked black-eyed peas, and he was cutting them open, and there were bugs inside of them. So, take that into account. But we would take the black-eyed peas, and we would cook them up with a lot of sugar and brown sugar, little honey maybe, a little maple syrup. And they got to cook for a long time till they're soft. And that's how we prepare the rubia. The leek, we used to put into the soup, chicken soup. And obviously don't put it on the same plate with the fish. Rimon, of course, we just cut up the pieces of the rimon. The kara, which is also gourd, so we actually buy gourd. Some people use squash. They'll get pumpkin, or they'll use butternut squash, we buy that gigantic green gourd, cut it up into cubes, and put it in with water and a lot of sugar. Let it cook a long time. If it cooks a long time, it'll become soft and sweet. This is true about most things, by the way, yeah? And I think those are the Simanim. I mean, we make fish, of course, that we serve, make a sweet fish. And that's the... we go through. That's what we go through at the beginning. My wife makes these delicious challahs with honey challahs. You have that with the honey. Finish the simanim. Take a shot of insulin, and I'm done. But then you want to move on to the main course, and you want to have the tzimis. Don't miss out on that tzimis. It's a delight, a thrill and a delight. Yeah. Okay. But the point here, of course, is when the Gemara says Simanim Milsahi, let's understand what that means. It's not just that it's a nice idea. There is something about physically taking something sweet and putting it in your mouth and experiencing the sweetness. The Gemara in Baba Kama talks about this when it talks about how Yirmiyahu was told to make these metal horns that were going to be used to gore. And you had to physically make them. You had to physically make them to be able to get the understanding and the power that was inherent inside of them. When we eat the Simanim, it's not just a nice idea. Eating something gives it a reality. You're tasting this thing and it's becoming part of me, especially when you eat something. You know, it becomes part of you. On Rosh Hashanah, we all pass before HaKadosh Baruch Hu K'bnei Maron, which, as we mentioned, the Gemara gives 3 pshatim, either like sheep, or which you bring through the gate single file in order to count them, or it's really Bnei Charon, this mountain pass that you can only walk single file, or it's like the army of David HaMelech, where they were so strong they marched single file. Anyway, you slice it, everybody has to be as an individual. I have a general rule, yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If you get caught with the same question 2 times and you don't know how to answer it, that's just because you're lazy. When somebody makes a point that I don't know how to answer, or I answer it in an ineffective way, I go back and review it to see how I could do it better. I was speaking once in Hebrew University, and I didn't know there were these 2 Reform students who were there in order to counteract what I was doing. And I gave a very nice shir about Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. And this one guy says, well, the important thing on Rosh Hashanah is to get forgiveness from people, right? And I said, no, that's Yom Kippur. On Rosh Hashanah, it's about, us making God king and realizing the judgment and everything like that. But it's also about people, right? And I kept saying no, and he kept pressing me, and I didn't realize I was being set up. So I was like, yeah, okay, it's also nice to be nice to people. So this other girl makes eye contact with him and says, well, how am I supposed to go into Rosh Hashanah when there are these people at the Western Wall who, are throwing rocks at Reform people? Now, what I said was, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? Where does this thing happen? And then they just started screaming, what are you talking about? I know a person got hit with a rock, like this. Anyway, I lost the whole room. So, I don't know if I'll ever find myself in that situation again, but what am I going to do? I played over my head. So now, what would I have done? She said to me, how can I go into Rosh Hashanah when I see these Jews throwing rocks at people at the Western Wall? I said, I'll give you the same answer if an Orthodox Jew says to me, how can I go into Rosh Hashanah when I see these Reform Jews, sanctioning intermarriage? How can I go into Rosh Hashanah when I look at all the people who are doing wrong things? And here's the answer. The Mishnah says we pass before HaKadosh Baruch Hu K'bnei Maron, one at a time. People hear it. It's a judgment day. Yeah. Linus says to Lucy in Peanuts, everyone was put into this world to make people happy. And Lucy thinks about it and says, there are a lot of people in this world that are not doing their job. When you hear Judgment Day, so you're like, great, Judgment Day. Let me judge my mother and my father and my sister and my friends and my roommates and the Orthodox Jews and the Reform Jews and the Chinese. It means it's a day of judgment, K'bnei Maron. You. Stop looking at everybody else. You're going to walk into Rosh Hashanah and spend your time judging everybody else? Do you want everybody else to judge you? It's a day of judgment between me and God, K'bnei Maron, as an individual. Man, I wish I'd said that. Anyway, we'll talk about regrets, but I have a podcast I want to speak about regrets before Yom Kippur. But anyway, but you see how this works? Now here's the fascinating thing. Maron, if you move around the letters, spells Rimon, without the yud. Yeah? Pomegranate. It says the Gemara, just as a pomegranate is filled with seeds, so the worst Jew is filled with good deeds. You cut open a pomegranate, and there's a lively business, certainly in Har Nof, where you go into the fruit stores, and they finally figured out. Yeah, they peel pomelo for you. Pomelo is this gigantic mutant grapefruit that is so hard to peel, and when you peel it, there's so much just like pith. That's the word. Thank you. And when you try to pull apart the pieces, the skin is all over the place. It's a major avoda to be able to get the fruit separate. And you can get them into whole separate slices. So they sell those. They do this for you in the fruit store. They charge you a lot for it. The other thing they do is they sell you a container of pomegranate seeds. Because to get the pomegranates out of the pomegranate is very difficult, especially if you ever want to use those clothing again, because the juice spritzes all over the place and gets on you, and it's a problem. One year we bought a pomegranate seed separator, where basically you do a lot of banging, and they're all supposed to come out and, somewhat effective. But otherwise, you just got to do the old way. You peel them apart, and you got to pull them out and keep removing the pith. It's all over the place. But those seeds are very sweet. Most of it is psilus. Most of it is peel. Most of it is wasted. But those little sweet dots, every single Jew is going to stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashana, Kibbenei Maron. And on Rosh Hashanah night, we're going to eat a rimon, a pomegranate. And we're going to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, far from perfect, but I've got so many sweet spots all over me. Yeah, you're going to have to work hard to pull them out. But the worst Jew is filled with them. And if I can find those points of sweetness and eat them Rosh Hashanah night, I'm saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look how much sweetness there is. You know what kind of year I want? I want an apple which is sweet, dipped in honey that's sweet. And I eat these foods, and these foods have the ability to be able to affect the reality within which I live. Simanim Milsi. You start your Rosh Hashanah by making it clear, what kind of a year do I want? And you should know, it's a tricky thing, because what do we want? So they give him mashal. The king got angry at his son, and he kicked him out of the palace, and he had to make it on his own. Now this kid had no marketable skills. Yeah, he was a prince. He didn't know how to do anything. Yeah, Prince Charles has spent his entire life waiting for his mother to die. That's it. That's his only marketable skill. He doesn't know how to do plumbing or carpentry or anything else. That's it. His entire life is waiting for me mom to die. I said, that's it. Yeah, and she's not going. She knows who Charles is, and she doesn't intend to give him the throne. They say you can't take it with you, she'll take it with her. Anyway, but the idea of being able to say, what am I doing? Anyway, so the prince gets thrown out of the palace. And after all, the king feels bad for him. So he sends out his trusted advisor to find him, and he's sleeping in an alleyway. By this point, his finery has been reduced to rags. He's got old newspapers around him. Sitting with some homeless people by a little fire in a garbage can, trying to warm himself, yeah. And they all see, the king's representative is here, and the kid looks up. And he says, I've been sent by the king to ask if there's anything that you want. And he says, yes. I'm so cold. Do you think I could get a coat? And he says, you fool. If you want, the king will take you back into the palace and make you a prince, and you'll have everything in this world. The most you can imagine is a winter coat. So we think small. Rabbi Friend had this beautiful piece where he went to speak in Square, and as part of it, he got to meet with the Rebbe. So he thought, okay, I'm meeting with the Rebbe. Rebbe's grant requests. What should I ask for? And he said, he spoke to his wife, he spoke to his children, he spoke to his friends. What should I ask the Rebbe for? And suddenly I realized, on Rosh Hashana, I'm going to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He'll give me anything I want. I'm worried about the Rebbe. Do we, before Rosh Hashanah, decide as B'nai Maron, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to pick us up as an individual and say, what do you want for this coming year? I want a year as sweet as apple and honey. I want to be seen as filled with mitzvahs like a pomegranate is filled with seeds. I want to be seen as something that is able to have a year without gezeirus ra'os, remove our enemies, destroy all the bad things, all the simanim that we go through. And as we eat those things and we take them in, we give them mamoshes, we give them reality. And that should be the year that we're looking for. A year of sweetness and of bracha and all good things. And that's it for this episode. If you want to find out more about the podcast, please go to RabbiOrlofsky.com, where you can leave us a comment. You can contact me. You can find out about upcoming events. And you could sponsor an episode by going to RabbiOrlofsky.com/podcast and click on the sponsor an episode button. I'm David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.